Alright guys, welcome to the Horror Movie Reviews. I'm DJ.
I'm Jake.
And we're going to be talking about some of the new movies that have been out the last few weeks. First we're going to talk about Crimson Peak. What did you think of Crimson Peak, Jake?
It was enormously disappointing.
Yeah, it really did. It fell flat. It fell flat hard. There's so much wrong with this movie and it had so much potential, but no,
Well, it had a director that I really have admired for a while now, Guillermo del Toro.
He's a definitely true auteur.
I was just astonished at how unscary, unatmospheric the majority of the movie was.
Oh yeah, it's just like jump scares, but there's no atmosphere to the jump scares. Well, that doesn't work in scary movies. You have to atmosphere, build it up, and sometimes you don't even need jump scares. But if you're gonna do jump scares, at least have it build up, and then jump scare, so that we're already scared, and then the jump scare makes us even more scared.
Well, the worst part is that this is after he's done a movie. I realize that it's been pretty much, has it been a decade? A little under
Pan's
a decade?
Labyrinth?
Yeah, since
Been
Pan's
10
Labyrinth.
years.
And that movie still has like it has the one scene that has terrified everybody who has ever seen.
It's a great
seen
movie.
The movie.
I really thought it was pretty good, actually.
But calling on that background that he already has in this kind of movie
Gothic, yeah.
with gothic storytelling and horror, what happened with this one?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, the Gothic and the time period is really well imagined. It's really well fleshed out, which I was very appreciative of. But the rest of it just fell flat. I mean, the first half of the movie is not scary. It's very schizophrenic because the first half is not scary. And the second half's not scary neither. But the first half is not designed to be scary. Well, what's the point? Are you trying to make a horror film? Are you trying to make a thriller, a drama? You know.
Well, the thing with the first half of the movie is that the concept of gothic stories like this is to incite intrigue,
yes.
and then begin
setup.
A mystery.
Yeah,
before anything that's mystical or supernatural actually ends up being introduced to the plot.
Even though it was shown in the first scene. But, and the mystery, we knew exactly what was going to happen. 20, 30 minutes in, it's very obvious. There's nothing like, ooh, what a twist, you know.
Well, with the introduction of Tom Hiddleston and his sister, it's just... Yeah. Oh, so this is where the story's going? Okay.
Exactly. And Tom, we know he can do better than this. He does have this potential, but he's not given much of anything. Neither are the actresses, which I know you don't particularly like Mia, the lead actress.
No. Well, one of the problems that we face with this movie is that no character is given enough dimension to really shine, and no actor otherwise can be hammy enough for over the top or just have enough presence to really make that performance worth noting.
Exactly. As the throwback to, as we've had a chance to mention, the classic gothic horror movie, the Roger Corman 60s, Pit and the Pendulum, Red Death kind of movies, which is what this is trying to aid very much.
Mm-hmm.
So, but you're right, between Mia, I don't know how to pronounce her last name, the lead actress, she has that timeless look about her, rather like Jessica Jones from Mad Men, very that timeless look, and she definitely fits. And then, of course, the evil actress, Jessica, she is much more polished. She's been in The Martian and Interstellar and 0 Dirty 30 and a few other good, bigger movies, but she's not given much of anything either. She's obviously evil from the first point we see her to the end point. She does not change. Nobody really changes except for Hiddleston, which we won't spoil anything. But
well, even Hiddleston doesn't really change.
No. It really just falls flat. It's not paced properly. It's very, it's da-da-da-da-da, stop, da-da-da-da-da, and then it keeps on going. It doesn't keep up a consistent pace and really keep it going. There's really not a lot of that. So there's a lot of this kind of movie. And as we were saying, it wasn't scary. This is not scary. At any point in this, I mean, they linger a lot on the monsters and show us. That's a no-no. Because the less you see of the monsters, the scarier they are. If you look back to any horror movie, any of the great horror movies, Exorcist, Alien, the first Friday the 13th or first Halloween, the less we see of it, the more it's scary.
Well,
Jaws too.
Well, the thing with that is it's the assumption that the ghosts were intended to scare. They were intended, which I won't deny that that seemed to be what he was going for. But
yeah,
in a story like this, the terror doesn't necessarily come from the ghosts, since typically they're the
but the way that they've been selling it, and the way that it was in the trailers, and the way they've been selling everything.
Well, I'm not gonna hold the trailers to anything. You can sell anything in a trailer. I don't care what the trailers sell.
No, I know that. But the way that they were playing this, it seemed like the ghosts were the bad guys. That this was going to be a scary, the haunting or scary ghost in a mansion kind of.
Well, I can't hold the director or any of the parts of it accountable for what marketing decided would be a good idea.
But
you can,
But this adds to the fact that this falls extremely well, was how it was marketed.
Depending on how much that ended up coloring your perception, I won't deny that that's going to affect your experience in movie. But I don't feel that it was supposed to have much to do with that, because in the 1960s Corman series or any other of the classic Gothic horror movies, like even Wolfman.
Yes.
Aspects of death are not necessarily the threat. They're more warning figures for risk and danger.
True.
They're meant to incite fear in the characters in order to pursue action. And as we grow attached to the characters, when real danger does show up, that's when we feel fear.
But we don't. And that's the fall, you're going to sell this as a horror movie, but they don't make it scary. The evil, the actual true unknowable evil, that's not scary. And the other thing was, it's also not very subtle about it. As I was saying, they actually zoom in and show the monsters coming at us slowly. That's a no-no. And the fact that, as soon as we get to the setting, to the actual, mansion... but by the way, don't go into the basement, but don't bother with those dead bodies in the corner.
It's the kind of things that you'd expect from a Goosebumps book.
Pretty much, exactly. And, so that really fell flat. And then the ending, which we're not going to spoil, don't worry, we're not going to spoil anything, but the ending is really dumb, and I just don't get the message. I didn't get it, what it was trying to say.
It was supposed to invoke a sense of loss and emptiness, but the problem is... the characters are horribly written and generic. The performances aren't particularly well directed or nuanced.
And the other thing about the subtlety, of course, was the red mud. Oh, yeah, it's actually blood. No, it's mud. What? Well, make up your mind what it is, please. But yes, overall, Crimson Peak, no. As we said, there's only one good thing about it, which is the time period and the attempts at Gothic, but everything else falls very flat. And this, no, don't bother going to see this. This is a mess. The other movie we had a chance to see, though, was Bridge of Spies. Totally different 180 on this one, because this is a much better film. You have Tom Hanks as a lawyer who's set up as basically the lawyer for this this Russian spy, and it's a very interesting take. It's a very interesting take on the fact that this is the 50s. This is during the Cold War. This is the big red threat they're going to get us with the bomb. Mm-hmm. So it was an interesting idea that they did. I mean, it's very topical. It could definitely... Well, no, they wouldn't have ever said it now.
Well, no, that's simply... It can't happen. It would never be allowed to happen.
Exactly.
No studio in their right mind would ever invest in a movie that took place in present day and had to do with this kind of subject matter.
Yeah, a lawyer defending a Muslim terrorist. Exactly, with all the racism, no. But the way that they set it up as going back to the Reds, to the Cold War, definitely a much better idea. And this movie is much, much, much better well done. It's directed by Steven Spielberg, who... Yeah, we know who he is. We know how much he can do. It's written by the Coen brothers, which we know that they can do. But as, of course, you've said, the Coen Brothers. We'll see how much they actually
made it onto, because it's like
there is a third
written
person
by Joel and Ethan Coen, and then there's another name just appended below them in the credits.
Yeah,
or it's just so it's the Coen Brothers plus Steve. I don't remember who actually ended up was doing the rewrites.
But yeah, he definitely did a little bit of a rewrite. So we'll see how much that they did. But overall, I mean, it is fun to see Tom Hanks, his character Donovan, and the Russian spy Abel. Just seeing those two actors act against each other. No special effects, no world-bending ideas or anything of that nature. It's just two actors acting against each other. It's a wonderful idea, and it could definitely have been made. This movie could have been made in the 70s or the 80s. There's definitely the potential.
I think maybe the 80s. 70s would still be pretty close to home.
True, but at least in terms of special effects, in terms of feel.
Oh, yes.
This definitely could have been made, back then, because there's not a lot of modern tropes, which is a nice touch.
Well, there is one action scene that they couldn't help but do.
Yeah.
Like, I was thinking, it's just, wow, this is all going to be drama, and there we go, explosions. Okay, that's what I thought.
Exactly, you have to remember people with PTSD nowadays. And the people who are just so, wired. There's so many people who are wired, so that's the biggest problem. But everything else is really well done, with the bit characters, Alan Alda as his boss, and the other one being, of course, Declan Matthews as the judge. I thought both of those guys, they're, very old school, very classically trained actors, great bit, story, character actors, and they really put in their own bits to help Tom Hanks, and it really worked well to, got that idea across.
Well, the most important thing that the movie was trying to convey was invoking the setting and the landscape and the political landscape that led up to the events that actually transpired, and the kind of situation that Tom Hanks and who played Abel, the Russian spy?
Peter Kozlov, I believe is his name.
Kozlov?
I'm forgetting his last name. Kivslav. I'm sorry, I'm forgetting his name.
But
he's not done a lot of movies. A lot of stuff he's done is Shakespearean, so he has that benefit. And that was another thing about the movie that I really enjoyed, is the dry humor from Abel, from when Tom Hanks meets his family. It's very dry. It's not like, oh, there's a laugh track, or, oh yeah, let's actually focus on it. It's, oh, you're not very scared about all this. Oh, would it help?
Mm-hmm.
It's very dry. It's just and then we'll go back to the drama. It's a nice touch right there. It's a little sprinkling of cinnamon in there.
Yeah. Well,
But I mean, and not to say that this movie is perfect, because the B storyline is where I really thought this fell a little bit flat.
With the college student, or?
Well, the college student too, but actually no, I didn't see the college student happening. But the story with the guy as the pilot.
Oh, yes, yeah.
That was like, we knew exactly what was going to happen, and it's obvious what's going to happen with him. And yet, they kept bringing up it was little bits. It wasn't a lot, but it was enough to say, okay, we know exactly the role he's going to play at the end. It wasn't very.
Well, it's kind of hard not to introduce a character like the pilot and then.
True, and there had to be a reason for him to go to Berlin in the first place, besides Abel. So it was a decent idea to do that. I'm just saying, they could have thrown up a few different ideas in this. It could have been a little, instead of going the generic route.
Well, I suppose that one way that they tried to get around that was demonstrate the expectation that these pilots had as spies, which was, if they were to fall into enemy hands, it was favorable for them to just outright kill themselves with cyanide.
That's what they were told. They were given cyanide. Yeah, you get anywhere close, you blow up this plane, you kill yourself. Mm-hmm. So that the Russians don't get this idea.
So that our intelligence and our technology doesn't fall into the wrong hands. But the demonstration as to how expendable these people were to them, if that's the case, and how they are inconsequential as individuals, was interesting. And the only reason that they even tried to get them back was to prevent the intelligence from being given to the Russians in the first place.
Yeah. And I mean, they were both brutally tortured, so it wasn't a huge. It definitely was a kind of a take back where it's like, okay, well, we got to get this guy back before he can say anything, and oh yeah, the Russians say, well, we got to get him back before he says anything too. So it was a nice nod. As I said, Bridge of Spies is definitely worth going to see. Crimson Peak, no, don't go see Crimson Peak, but Bridge of Spies, definitely worth it. This has been the Horror Movie Reviews. I'm DJ. I'm out.
And I'm Jake, and I'm joining him.